Prime Minister Julia Gillard is in Queensland today to see the flood devastation for herself, and there's plenty to see.
About 4,000 people have now fled their homes to escape rising waters. In Emerald, more than 700 people spent the night in evacuation centres waiting for the Nagoa River to peak. Condamine, west of Brisbane, is deserted. All of its 130 residents have been airlifted to safety, and large parts of Bundaberg remain submerged. Now, dozens of residents in Rockhampton have been evacuated from their homes as floodwaters continue to rise.
The Fitzroy River is expected to peak above 9 metres next week. And for more, Rockhampton's Mayor Brad Carter joins us now on the phone. Thank you very much for joining us at the beginning of another bad day for you, no doubt. Can you tell us what the situation is this morning in terms of that river level?
Look, the river level is actually expected to peak at about 9.4 metres next Tuesday. That's the official Bureau of Meteorology advice that we have at this stage. We're expecting a height of about 9 metres throughout the weekend that's coming. With that level, that's likely to close our airport. I expect our airport could be closed as early as Saturday, and the highway from the west and from the south is quite likely that could be closed as well. So we're starting to get to the stage where Rockhampton is likely to be isolated. Certainly next Tuesday, with a 9.4 metre height, we will be isolated to the south and the west and isolated from aircraft movements. So that's aircraft and roads, and what about rail? Rail we expect to be cut. Rail may be able to get through, but unloading of rail wagons at that height, we believe is not possible. So resupply of our supermarkets is a key issue at the moment. We believe that possibly today and tomorrow some transport operators will be able to get their trucks through with much needed supplies. I was talking to the Director General of the Emergency Services Department yesterday, and they've got some really good contingency plans in place for that. However, as the floodwaters rise, it will be difficult to get those trucks through. So there's a small window of opportunity there at the moment for resupply. And the predictions are that it'll remain above 9 metres, that Fitzroy River level, for up to about 10 days, isn't it? And in that case, are you confident you're going to get enough of that resupply to the supermarkets that you can have for that period of time? Look, we're quite confident. There are some other contingency plans to look at getting product into North Queensland through other forms of shipping and air freight and bringing it down by road, barging it in from Gladstone. So there's a range of other contingencies should we be isolated for that 10 or so day period that is quite possible at this stage. I've got to commend the various planning people behind the scenes that are doing all this work. The next week to 2 weeks is going to be a very interesting time for us. Indeed. And apparently you have your first evacuation centre opening this morning. That's correct. At the Central Queensland University, we've got our evacuation centre, which will be functional from 8 o'clock this morning. People will need to be registered to be accommodated there. We believe that we can cater for, approximately 1,000 to 1,200 people in, a large room, large accommodation. We have some other arrangements where we might be able to provide specialised dormitory accommodation, and at this stage we estimate that at a pinch, with a range of flexible arrangements, we're likely to be able to look after about 2,000 people if they need to be relocated and evacuated. Are you hoping and assuming that residents will also be able to stay at other people, at families and friends, so that those evacuation centres basically become a last resort? Look, our community is acting very responsibly. We've had a message out for the last week or so that for those people in low-lying areas, can they please consider moving in with friends or relatives or getting motel accommodation. So they've been pursuing those range of options, and most of the people living in these low-lying areas are very much aware of it. But what is now causing us a lot of concern is that we potentially could have either the second highest or possibly even the highest flood on record with the way these waters are coming down. Now, I don't wish to be scaremongering, but the reality is 9.4 metres next Tuesday will put us above the 1991 flood, and possibly that's the same level as the 1954 flood. Just for your listeners' information, the highest flood on record was 10.11, and that was in 1918. So we're going to get pretty close to that. If you listen to all the advice from the graziers and western communities where this water is coming through. The general comment from people that have lived on the land, second and third generation graziers and farmers, they're actually saying this is the greatest volume of water they've ever seen come through their properties, through their creeks, through the river system.
And are you saying this in part because some people are dragging their heels about relocating?
Look, we're going to have the very tough situation today and Saturday whereby we may have to use and implement the emergency services, the disaster processes of forced evacuations. And this is a very difficult issue. As you can appreciate, you can have, for example, some very elderly people that are very reluctant to leave their home, and for their own safety and goodwill, we will have to look at ways and means of relocating them. Now, we hope that these are isolated and extreme cases, but we may and we're likely to be implementing compulsory evacuations in certain parts of Rockhampton. So I stress not all of Rockhampton, but in certain parts where it is extremely low-lying. Our council officers were out yesterday. We had a team of people. They door-knocked about 2,000 homes yesterday with a letterbox and a leaflet drop, letting people know what their options are and what they need to do. There is a little bit of confusion and a bit of a misunderstanding out there, but the message I have to get out there is that this is potentially one of the highest floods on record. It is a serious situation, and we all have to work together and cooperate. Having said that, Mary, I am very impressed with the level of planning that is going into place, and I'm particularly impressed with the very strong level of support that we're getting from the Queensland Government through our emergency services disaster management arrangements. And like last night, I was updated that we've got 4 Black Hawks and 1 Chinook helicopter from the Australian Defence Force on their way. They'll either be here now or they'll be arriving soon. That's going to be a much needed piece of resource over the next couple of weeks.